Hello, Marcus Hersh, the Daily Racing Forum, coming to you from an undisclosed location in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I'm joined by my colleague and co-international correspondent, Steve Andersen. I don't know, Steve, is your location disclosed or not?
Southern California,
Okay, that's
whale
all
land.
set. All right, well, we are here to give a preview of the Dubai World Cup Group 1, $10 million. We run Saturday night at Meydan Racecourse over 2,000 meters, about a mile and a quarter, on dirt. Post time, I believe, is 12:50 p.m. Eastern, and a field of 10 headed by West Coast, who is odds-on with the British bookmakers to win, was entered Monday, and the post positions were drawn today. I think the field's getting displayed on the screen. West Coast, the favorite, drew post 9. Just a real quick one bit of news from today. One of the American horses, Gunnivera, he had a spirited gallop, which went okay. Wasn't that impressive, but more importantly, after he was walked the 1.9 miles back to the quarantine facility, he came up a little bit lame, and he was found to have a foot bruise. His shoes were pulled. That relieved his discomfort, according to trainer Antonio Sano. But he can't be treated with any medication. He's standing in Epsom salt water and poulticed with to try to draw the heat out of the foot. And Sano was confident that he was going to be able to make the race Saturday. He was even talking about walking him up to school in the gate on Thursday morning. I don't believe he'll train, but that's probably not a great sign, would you say, Steve?
No, not 72 hours in advance of the biggest race of his career, and he's coming in under, to me, a little bit of a dodgy form. He did run well in the Pegasus World Cup, but he's 0 for 7, I think, in Grade 1 races, and then to have this happen just leads me a little more skeptical of his chances.
Yeah, to his credit, he well, I mean, let's not say credit. He had an undescended testicle. It wasn't removed surgically, but it was fixed, and that that sort of thing can really cause a horse discomfort just when they try to stretch out and stride. And the trainer and the whole camp were pretty adamant that that change had been for the better. Just quoting workout times, Mr. Sano said, he had worked regularly in 101, and then he started working in 59 after post Pegasus. So, but you know, he's a deep closer on a track that doesn't play well, and for that style, and then he's had this issue. So I think he's a
I mean,
toss.
we did see.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. We did see Arrogate come from the back of the field, but that was extraordinary circumstances. But Gunnivera is no Arrogate, and looking
Correct.
at his performances in Grade 1 company at the highest level in the Breeders' Cup and in the Pegasus World Cup just leaves a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, so moving along, where do you stand on West Coast? He's the nominal leader of the older handicap division, dirt horses in America. He has never beaten older horses, but he's run really well against the likes of Gunrunner. Think he's the winner?
I do, in fact. He was 3-2 in England on Monday, the 12th. I'm sorry, the Monday the 19th of March. Now here we are, just a little more than a week later, and he's shrunk down to even money. I think he's the sort of horse that fits this profile for winning this race. He can be a handy runner, as you described, that you don't want to be too far back. So that's a factor, and that's in his favor. His parallel lines to Gunrunner behind him in the Dubai. I'm sorry, in the Breeders' Cup at Delmar in November, and also in the Pegasus at Gulfstream Park in January were not bad performances by any measure. And of course, Gunrunner has Dubai World Cup form from last year when he was a very good second to the brilliant Arrogate. So in his own right, Arrogate comes to this race a little bit unproven against older horses, as you said, without that win. But everything else he's done has been A-OK. And I really thought he ran a very game second in the Pegasus. Watching the video here now, the Gunrunner was getting away from him a little bit at the wire. There was a moment in the early stretch when I thought, I wonder how close this can get. But Gunrunner is better than West Coast, and Gunrunner is retired. He's that stud. So here we are with West Coast, as you said, in front of the division, and a chance to clinch his status with a win on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he was 10 lengths ahead of third in that race, and I don't. He's got a ways to go to get to even the Gunrunner level, much less Arrogate at his very best, and he may never get there. But he's definitely a deserving favorite. He's traveled well, apparently. Post 9, I think, is good for the horse. He's a massive animal who likes to. He's a strong galloper. I mean, he wants to stay in the clear, I think, and go along on a decent clip. I expect him to run well. Among the other Americans, Forever Unbridled did not catch my eye Monday when I saw her training, but she's really picked up the way she looks in the mornings, and I don't. I would be surprised she would be able to win, especially given her closing style. But I do kind of fancy her to run into the top three at probably a decent price. I know when we spoke earlier, Steve, you gave Talismanic a chance in this race. I think if I recall correctly. Where do you come down on him?
I come down him as a very firm second choice in my picks, and very nearly wanted to pick him on top, except that I have the utmost respect for West Coast. And when I get into the betting of this race, I can strongly think that I'd be in exacta boxes with West Coast, and I'm going to be checking that win price on Talismanic. I don't think it'll be high by any stretch because he does come in with some very good recent past performances: a win at Shanti in a prep race earlier this month, a second in Hong Kong, and a win in the Breeders' Cup Turf. The dirt doesn't scare me too much. If he can handle the Shanti All Weather, which is a poly track, I think he can probably handle this. They're prepared for this. He's trained by Andre Fabre in France, and who's got world-class credentials by any stretch. I just feel very strongly that Talismanic will run a race. I just can't comprehend whether that's going to be an upset win over West Coast or a good second. But I think he's the strongest of the Godolphin runners.
Yeah, Thunder Snow would be the other one. He drew post 10. I'm not sure he wants to go this far. He was kind of exposed a little bit in that regard in the round 3 of the Al Maktoum Challenge last time. Regarding Talismanic, I don't mind the way he moves on dirt. He is going to be in a faster paced race than he's ever been in before. And speaking to Andre Fabre earlier this week, that was something he pointed out. There's going to be some adaptation that's going to be required because he might just get run off his feet a little bit early in a way he's not accustomed to. Also, got some intel in the last couple of days that, and this is fine, it may work out fine, but this is strictly a Sheikh Mohammed call to have a top-class runner in the $10 million race at his home track. I'm not sure that if it had been entirely up to the trainer, this horse wouldn't have been in the Shima Classic instead. Just real quick, well, we didn't cover Pavel. I know in talking to you earlier, you didn't give him a great chance. Is there anything that has changed about your opinion of Pavel coming into this race?
Not really. I mean, had he had a better trip, I think he might have won the San Pasquale at Santa Anita in early February. I challenged Doug O'Neill over the weekend. I said, are you doing the right thing here? I mean, I thought you gave away a chance to win the $600,000 Santa Anita handicap on March 10th to travel to overseas for this $10 million prize. And that was his reaction. He goes, look, 10 million. He put his hands together on an imaginary scale. He said 10 million one race, 600,000 the other. Now, they've always been the sort of barn with owners Paul and Zilla Redham that take chances. This is them taking a chance.
Yeah. I want to get, I guess, before we wrap this up, to the horse that I've decided to take on top in the race, who should be a good price. His name is North America. He's going to be tested for quality. The races here on so-called Super Saturday, March 10th, were contested over a track that certainly appeared to be biased toward speed and the rail. And North America was definitely rail speed. His jockey, Richard Mullen, has gotten really good about getting his horses out of the gate and into a forward position. This horse is drawn in post 2. I think he's the speed of the race. The question was whether he could really stay. He'd never been beyond a mile until this race. If you go look back a year ago, he ran a horrible race in the Godolphin Mile, but he just didn't like the mud at all. He's an older horse. I think he's 6, but he's fairly lightly campaigned. And you couldn't really fault the way he dashed away from Thunder Snow late at going this distance in the trial run. And if the track is speedy again and he gets out and is loose on the lead, I think there's a pretty decent chance that he could go a long way at a price. So I do expect West Coast to be extremely competitive, and I think that he's probably the more likely winner. But at better odds, I'm going to take a shot with North America in the Dubai World Cup.
And as you mentioned, this will be a distance test for Thunder Snow, the one of the other Godolphin runners who has won at this early part of the year in Dubai in round 2 of the Maktoum series. Beat North America by a neck at a mile and 3/16, almost a mile and a quarter. Then was comprehensively beaten last time in the video we just saw. Mixed form in Europe last year. He did win a minor Group 1, so to speak, a very poor Group 1 at Chantilly in the Prix Jean Prat. And of course,
Mm.
American racing fans are still probably shaking their heads in confusion over his Kentucky Derby, in which he bucked violently at the looked more like Cheyenne Frontier days there at the start of the Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby, and then was pulled up within a matter of 100 yards or so. Fortunately, no injury, but or no mishap per se. But he's got a lot to prove at a distance. But I think of the Godolphins, other than Talismanic, I would think, or the local runners rather, I would probably go with Thunder Snow over North America, but just slightly. I think those cats at best are going to be
Yeah.
third place in this field.
Right. Well, we shall soon see how this all pans out for Steve. I think it's West Coast. For me, I'm going to take a shot with North America. I encourage all of you to dig into the past performances. It's a fascinating renewal of the race. Always a great card. So best of luck to you.